There we go. Hey, my name is Ender,
I'm Shaleia.
and we are Awaken Intimacy. And today we are going to answer one question that we got from some of our viewers. So that question is from Drew C. in Michigan. Here's my question for your next video, he says. What was it that made you guys both trust in your relationship so much to be in it for 4 months without ever meeting each other? And he followed up with, it seems like you both invested a lot of time, effort, and money before you met in person. And you guys said in the last video you had second thoughts before meeting each other. So that's what I'm curious about. So Drew had quite a bit to ask. So what was it that made us both trust in our relationship so much to be in it for 4 months without ever meeting each other?
Um, for me, at first I trusted my intuition. I trusted my gut feelings. Um, I trusted the chemistry that I was feeling online with him, and I felt like I also, you know, when I'd ask him certain questions on certain things, I felt like we were very aligned. Like when it came to what our values were, what um, um, what our interests were, what vision that we had together, and that was initially what started to draw me in closer and closer into the relationship and create greater intimacy in our relationship was that we had a shared vision for ourselves, for our land, for the type of community we want to create, type of community we want to be in. And I've always considered myself quite mission oriented, and that was where I felt like I could start to say yes more and more to the relationship and trust that I was doing my inner deep work that was bringing me closer and closer to my good and to the man of my dreams and to the life that I have been desiring to manifest on this plane for myself. I trusted it because I felt like I was already in it. I felt I felt like I got to a point where I couldn't say no once we really identified more and more who we were individually and who we are together and who we could be together. Um, from the very beginning, I felt a lot of trust for this man, and he kept proving to me over and over and over again by his words, his thoughts, his ideas, his actions, that he was trustworthy, that things would get done. And that has still held true to this day, like as we're in physical meeting, that what he says comes true. And that was new for me. I was like, oh my God, I've never been with someone that says, yeah, okay, I'll get right on it, I'll do it. And it gets done. It's like, holy crap. Okay. Um, but I trusted the feelings that I was feeling in my heart as something more than just the chemicals in my hormones being stirred up and feeling more than just a physical attraction, but a true soul to soul connection as we continue to go further and deeper into our work. One of the key differences I have found in our relationship um, is there really was no honeymoon period. We dove straight into the work of our relationship, and that was the honeymoon, and that is our honeymoon because when we when we move through our challenges and our obstacles, when we find methods and techniques that deepen our intimacy with each other and with ourselves, we're able to experience such a deepening of love and joy and expansion and this limitless feeling like, what's next, and seeing this horizon just keep expanding, that it's worth pursuing, it's worth saying yes to, it's worth trusting in the universe having your best intentions for your highest good always in the forefront of its consciousness. And for me, that also meant I had to become a lot more consciously aware of the stories that I was telling myself of not feeling worthy or deserving of my good and of my desires and my greatest love, and feeling them, feeling the fear, um, but still saying yes and moving forward to Him, and trusting that, um, trusting myself that I have made the right decision, and that even if I get a few bumps in the head, or maybe if it didn't work out, that ultimately it was in both of our best interests, and that the universe is moving me forward to my divine partner.
Like, we both knew that this was the channel to the divine partner that we were both seeking. And we weren't always sure whether it was each other, but we knew that we were both on the path towards our ultimate desire. So when things got really bad, it was easy to just keep moving forward and keep working on it, because even if this didn't end up working out, we knew that it would manifest into our ultimate partner we were both desiring.
Mm-hmm.
And preceding this relationship, we had each had pretty parallel experiences as far as timing and intensity, with other partners that provided a lot of contrast for us and helped each of us to hone in on exactly what we desired in our partner, our ultimate partner. Shaleia had, in that timing period with her previous partner, written out about 4 pages of what she desired in a partner.
Oh, I was clear. In the midst of the destruction of my last relationship, I became highly clear of the type of partner that I required in order to feel good in my partnership. And at first I was like, oh gosh, does this even exist? But I would be cheating myself if I didn't write down that list while the energy was still fresh and while I was still going through that turmoil in that previous relationship.
She read to me the 4 pages she had written a few months ago while we were Skyping, and I'm like, yep, pretty
Check,
much, yep,
check.
working on that one, but yep. And for her, it was exactly the opposite of what she was experiencing with her previous partner. So, one lesson that we'd like to communicate here is that treat your current relationship like it's bringing you towards your divine partner, bringing you towards the ultimate partner that you desire to be with. And that relationship that you're currently in will either transform into being the full expression of your divine partnership, or it will fall away so that you can attract your true divine partner. And no matter what you do, when you treat it that way, the partner that isn't ultimately aligned with your highest intentions will fall away. No matter what you do, if it's not aligned with your highest intentions, it will fall away. And no matter what you do, if it's the right partner, it will transform.
Yes. Our relationship is a very intentional relationship, and from the outside, people may perceive our relationship as being very easy, I guess, and we are very natural together. It does feel right, but we work at this relationship every day, you know, in some form, whatever comes up. But like, that's how I feel we are experiencing our greatest joy in the relationship. And the the long distance relationship that we had provided a really safe and fair platform for us to begin developing our divine partnership, because it allowed us a lot of space, emotional space and physical space, obviously, to become very clear within ourselves, about where we're at individually, where we're at as a couple, where we're moving forward to. And it didn't allow the the sexual energy to interfere as much as it would in physical life.
There was no like we could jump into bed to solve a problem or we could get sexual in order to feel better. There was only the emotions, the feelings, the experience, and the work that we did to constantly move through it.
Yeah, and we were able to um, be a lot more clear with where we're at in our own lives and with our values, like making sure that we're aligned before we add sex into the mix, which creates a whole other dimensional aspect to the relationship that can cause um, a lot of unclarity and muddiness, and your chakras are coming together and uniting before maybe your hearts are, before your minds are, before your souls are. uh, One of my favorite quotes from the Bible says, I'm just paraphrasing, but that a marriage is made in heaven. A marriage is not made on earth, meaning the old way of doing relationships, the old blueprint pattern is two people meet and, oh, you're attractive, oh, you're attractive, oh, I like your personality, you like my personality, and then you immediately engage into physical relations, and then you find out later on through trial and error and hardship that your relationship is falling away. Why? Certain things were not put into place to create a proper foundation, to create a thriving relationship, versus when you fall in love with your heart and you fall in love with your mind and your soul, it truly is heaven on earth. Those high vibrational frequencies are permeating every cell in your body and extend out into your auric field and past your auric field. And the same goes with your partner. So when you're coming into union, which you already are in union, it's such a different vibrational frequency and understanding of being together versus the old blueprint.
So this is what's in our minds as we're developing this partnership from the beginning. Um, both of us have been seeking a greater stability. Both of us have been seeking our real divine partners.
Yeah.
And when you look out at people in the world and you connect with them, you quickly decide whether or not they line up with that. You know, within a few minutes or up to a few hours of conversation, that either this person is in alignment with my spiritual path or this person may be really attractive, but ultimately is not in alignment with what it is I'm really trying to do here on this planet. So, in seeing that in Shaleia, that made me very motivated to focus all of my intention and energy in this realm into the relationship, into her. I live in Hawaii. There's beautiful women all over the place, but none of them have what she has. None of them can develop or could develop what it is that we were developing together.
Yeah.
It was very clear to me early on that this was important, that I needed to be focusing all of my relational energy into developing this relationship because it was going to help me take me to the next level in my life. It was going to help me on my spiritual path. And um, in being in a divine partnership like this, we both move forward.
Yeah.
When one grows, the other grows.
Yeah, that is very true. And there's something too that comes up in most relationships, and certainly it happened to me, where you wonder, well, I wondered, should I choose to focus all of my energy, not all of it, but my intention into creating a monogamous relationship with him, or should I keep myself open? Especially when you're doing a beginning in a long distance relationship, I'm like, should I keep myself open? And I still feel like maybe there's someone out there for me that I still would develop a relationship with him and keep dating, but I wasn't sure. I'm like, should I really solidify this more? Um, or because there was a part of me that felt like because we never physically touched, I was still looking for something that I was not getting. And like touch for us and in many relationships, that's most relationships, hopefully, it's such a crucial component to the intimacy process. It's it's an energy exchange. It's a reassurance. It's a connection. So when every time we touch, we're enforcing our connection to each other, and that's demonstrated when we're around other people too. So what I feel is that I made the choice to no longer look outside of my relationship with him, and I'm talking specifically early on, like within the first month, 2 months of our relationship, because it came down to me believing that there is no greener pasture per se. Like once I felt that we were aligned with our values and our vision and what kind of personal mission we had on the planet for each other, I was like, if I keep if I keep looking for greener pastures, I'm signaling to the universe, I'm signaling to myself that I'm always going to be seeking the most fulfilling relationship, and I'm going to be looking at other men, wondering in my head, is it you? Is it you? Are you going to be the most fulfilling relationship I can be in? And when I sat down with myself, I had this realization, like, no, I create the most fulfilling relationship with myself and with my partner. And if I don't get this settled now, it will never be settled. I'll always be looking. And when I looked through my that list that I created about the ideal man, he embodied a significant portion of it. And I suggest if you make a list for yourself, which I think you should, if you get 70 to 80% of what you desire from your partner or potential partner from that list, baby, hold on to it. And you work out the other stuff, or you don't. You identify, what's really important. But that was what was really that was a really big realization for me was, I'm saying yes and trusting in this relationship because I know the potential for us is magnificent, and that I'm creating a fulfilling relationship with myself and with him.
For me, once the foundation was laid, once the values were lined up, once the visions for our future were lined up,
Yeah.
once we recognized how well we worked together, once we once we saw that we could work together, we could work through our stuff together. For me, that's what solidified my commitment to know that if the ground is here, if we can work together to build it, if we can work through any of our challenges, we have that commitment and we
Yeah.
have that spark that keeps us moving forward, then there's nothing that can stop us from creating exactly what we desire
Yeah.
together, within ourselves and for our lives together.
And one last thing before we wrap up that I'd like to point out, which may differentiate our relationship from other relationships, is that we were willing to take the risk to lose the relationship in order to gain what we truly desired from our hearts.
So meaning that if you're if you liken the relationship to building a house, and we're leveling out the land, we're realizing, okay, we have this pillar, it can go here, and that pillar can go here, and that pillar can go here, and we're not really sure what's going on in this area, but if it's not right, we can't put a pillar there, and then we're not be able to build the house that we want or build the structure that we're looking for. And in relationships, sometimes you just want to believe that it's there and just put the pillar down and hope that it's right.
Yeah.
And we were willing to risk the relationship and say, listen, Shaleia called me up one day and she said, Ender, I have some concerns. And she hammered me with some really intense questions, which I answered honestly and openly. And I was just being myself. I was being my expression of myself. I wasn't trying to change myself for her. She wasn't trying to change herself for me. We were both looking at each other like, are you going to be right? Do you have a foundation there where we haven't really been aware of yet? And it was because we were willing to look in those places that we're able to clear the path and ultimately set those pillars down, which are the structure and foundation of our relationship. Cool. So thank you so much for joining us on our second video. If you have any comments, you're in a long distance relationship, you have any questions, post a comment below. Whether you see this on Facebook or on YouTube or somewhere else, posting comments, that helps so much, gets a conversation started. We would love to join in. We'd love to answer any questions you have. If you like what we do, go ahead and like the video, share it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are Awakened Intimacy. Aloha.
Aloha.